All right. Great way to start, right? With all right and clearing my throat. When will the economy recover? Well, the good news is the economy will recover. That's the good news. But when is it going to recover? That's what we're going to try to figure out together. So I'm Jim Flanagan, broker of record, Coldwell Banker Flanagan Realty. Thank you for joining me. And hopefully together we can figure out exactly when our economy is going to recover. Behind me here, I have a chart I put up on the wall that my best interpretation of what we're referring to as the V recovery, okay? What exactly is the V recovery? Well, according to the geniuses here at Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan, this is the recovery that we are going to experience post-COVID-19 recession, okay? Now, notice I said post-COVID-19 recession and not post-COVID-19. Hi, Nancy. Thanks for joining me. Dorlisa, good to see you too. Hope you're well and safe. So, hey, Steve, thanks for joining me again, or joining us again. According to the latest information that I've been able to actually read, and I'm going to emphasize that you read everything thoroughly, not just the headlines, right? Because the press is doing a great job at spreading fear and misinformation because they know that we as the general public only read the headlines and the bullet points. We don't read the full articles. So after they capture your attention on the fear, they are banking on you not reading the full article for the full story. So I want to kind of go into a deep dive here on the full story, if you will. Okay, so join me. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so the V recovery. Okay, it's important to understand that this recession, and we are in a recession. For those of us who don't know what a recession is, it is more than 1 month or a couple of months of continued economic decline. So you see this line here that represents 0% of gross domestic product, right? Or gross domestic production. Right? You see we just left Q1, right? Let me come back into the picture. Or the first quarter, I'll come this way, right? The first quarter of the year, right? And now with the healthcare crisis, the economy is going down. Big surprise when not over 90% of the nation is on a shelter in place or a lockdown. Hey, Joseph, appreciate your daily breathing exercises, right? Stop, breathe, think, act, right? Joseph Heisler, is doing a great job at reminding us, stop, breathe, think, act. So let's think our way through this V recovery together, if you will. So obviously with over 90% of the nation on a lockdown or shelter in place and nearly 10 million people claiming unemployment within the last 2 weeks, anybody who says we're not in a recession is delusional, okay? We're going to be in a recession at least for Q2, right? And let's just, what is Q2? What's the second quarter of the year? Well, very simply, right? April, May, and June. April, May, and June. So if we look at this V recovery, and let me get my handy dandy marker out, right? If you can see on the bottom here, it's hard to see under the comments, but the bottom of the V on this chart supplied by Keeping Current Matters has us bottoming out in the middle of Q2. So to me, the middle of Q2 means mid-May, okay? So mid-May is when we should be at the bottom of this recession, okay? So let's put this into perspective, shall we? And I'm actually going to just read the most recent, quote unquote, news from CNN. So bear with me a second. All right, I'm back. So CNN just sent an article out. A news notification came across my phone as I was actually putting it up here to film this, listing when to expect each of the 50 states to reopen their economy. Right? So New Jersey, and this is straight from CNN, the source. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy issued a stay-at-home order on March 21st, which has no specific end date. New Jersey has joined a coalition with the northeastern states of New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts to coordinate the reopening of the economy, according to a press release from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's office. Okay. Quote, "No one has given more thought or is more eager to restart our economy than I am. But if we don't get the sequencing right, we put more lives at risk. The only path to a sustainable economic recovery is through a strong healthcare recovery," Murphy said in a news release. Quote, another quote, "A coordinated regional approach informed by a multi-state council of experts will help us avoid a major setback with potentially disastrous consequences," unquote, Governor Phil Murphy of New Jersey. So, what does that mean? What that means is the I-95 corridor, or roughly from Delaware up to Rhode Island and Massachusetts, known as the Mid-Atlantic, Northeastern, or New England, are going to be working together through the governor's offices to determine when our economy will reopen. So Jim, when is that going to happen? I do not have a crystal ball, but this is what I do know, okay? John saying, governor said looking likely to be June or July in New Jersey. John, ain't gonna happen, okay? And let me tell you why that's not going to happen, in my opinion, okay? That they won't wait until June or July. Although, you see the recovery, right? The recovery of all three of these financial institutions, they have us back at 0% GDP in the third quarter, okay? So what is the middle of the third quarter, right? July, August, and September represent the third quarter. So the middle of July, if we're back here, that's not disastrous news, right? The problem is we don't understand the beginning of the recovery versus actually being recovered. So in order for us to get here, where does the economy reopen, right? If we're bottoming out in mid-May, when do we reopen the economy, okay? So let's talk about what's going to really impact this. Yes, the governors are going to coordinate this. What do the governors need? What do the states need, right? They need funds, right? They need finances. They need income. They need revenue. Right? If everybody's out of work, how are they going to get revenue and taxes? If they're not going to get revenue and taxes, where are they going to get funds? The only place to get funds if you're not getting revenue or taxes is where? The federal government, right? Through FEMA and the national disaster, right? So even though there's this big fight between the governors and the president, they each need each other, right? The governors know they need the president and the federal government for the federal disaster relief funds to keep their states going. What does the federal government want more than anything? To get back to work. So there's a balancing act of not just power, but health and the economy going on here. So what does this basically come down to? It comes down to needs versus circumstances, right? Needs versus circumstances, right? The governors need funds to continue to operate their states, okay? The circumstances are they need to do it in a slow, methodical method so that more people don't die. Okay, so it's a fine line that we're balancing on here. But make no bones about it, needs will overcome circumstances every single time. Okay? So, what are some things that we can use to predict when the economy is going to reopen? Well, we in New Jersey are in what is known as a blue state, and I want a disclaimer here. I am not taking any political sides on this. Right? Your political beliefs and opinions are your own. I see them all over Facebook. I've made a concerted effort to try and not share mine on Facebook with some great advice from smarter people than I am. But the facts are the facts, and we're a blue state that is now coordinated with a bunch of other blue states, I think with the exception of maybe Massachusetts. Somebody can fact check this for me. I think Massachusetts is a red state. Not sure about Rhode Island. But I know Connecticut, New York, and Delaware, and New Jersey are all blue. Right? So the blue states tend to believe in more government, less business. Red states, more business, less government. Right? But the fact still remains that the states are depending on the federal government for that financial aid. Right? So the federal government right now, like it or not, is more business, less government. Right? So checks and balances are in play here. Right? I got to move this way, so you can see where I'm going. So the checks and balances here are in play to get the economy going as soon as possible. Just yesterday, an agreement was reached bailing out the airline industry. I think it was $25 billion to keep the payroll going for the major airlines. This stimulus, this money being thrown into the economy is a good thing. The stock market is responding. I know the stock market slipped a little bit today, but that's all on oil. That's really nothing to do here domestically with our economy. You know, think about it, right? Everybody's complaining that the price of gasoline is under $2 a gallon and they can't go anywhere, right? Remember, the last recession we were in, right? The price for a gallon of gasoline was between $4 and $5 a gallon, right? So let's keep things in perspective here. Right? So the federal government is throwing trillions, not billions, trillions of dollars at this problem. Okay? In order for them to get a return on an investment, they need the economy to open back up. We are starting to see some good news as far as the cases of COVID-19 recovering and diminishing. Okay? Yeah, the death count, again, I don't want to diminish the death count. It's sobering and it is sad, all right? But I think we as a human race, we as a country are starting to accept, not only are we going to survive this and get through this, but we're also getting tired. Okay? We're getting tired of waiting. Okay, let's get back to business. This is not going to be back to normal. Okay, there's no normal after this. All the healthcare experts, the greatest scientific minds are telling us that COVID-19 is going to be around for the next year or two or even beyond that there are going to be waves of this, okay? All right, we're starting to understand this virus and we're starting to make ground on how to treat it, and hopefully eventually there will be a vaccine for it. So human nature being what it is, we start to rationalize and accept, how can we work while this is all going on? How can we get back to business while this is all going on? Okay? Seems like we're going to be black and blue by the time. Yeah, we're it's going to hurt. At least right here until mid-May, it is going to hurt. Okay? But the good news is, unlike the last recession we were in, right? Where housing led us into the recession, housing is going to lead us out of this recession. Right? Housing is going to lead us out of this recession with an asterisk next to that, right? And the big asterisk is unemployment, right? The sooner we get people back to work, the sooner we start this recovery trajectory, okay? The sooner we get people back to work, the sooner we start this recovery trajectory. Most of the people out of work right now, right, the non-essentials as they've been labeled, are in the retail, hospitality, service industry, right? Our hotels and airlines, our restaurants, bartenders, servers, our malls and stores and retail, right? This is the majority of the people that took the initial unemployment hit. The longer this unemployment goes on, then other industries start to furlough or lay people off. This is the thing that the coalition of governors is paying attention to, because this is what's going to affect the recovery. All right, so if we see these three models here, JP Morgan, right, with the most conservative model, which has the shallower bottom but the longer recovery, okay? JP Morgan also is JP Morgan Chase, right? And they just changed their mortgage rules, right? And all my mortgage experts watching can either validate this or discredit it. But according to the last thing I saw, they're now requiring a 700 credit score and 20% down for mortgages. They're protecting their investments. They've learned from the past and they are hedging against the future, right? From what I also understand, and I'll ask the mortgage people to chime in here, the FHA and the VA have not changed their guidelines yet, okay? So on the flip side of that, the government is still making it, I don't want to say easy, but they're still making mortgages available to people that don't have a lot of money to buy homes, right? You can 0% down with a VA, 3.5% down with an FHA. So going back to my point that housing is going to lead us out of this recession, again, with that asterisk, employment being the wild card here, right? So I know I'm kind of all over the place and I got notes underneath. That's why I'm looking down here to make sure, that I'm trying to stay on tack here. But the difference, and this is another video, but I'm just going to spring ahead to next week's answer, right? Okay, so Jim, the economy is going to recover. Likely we're going to bottom out mid-May and start to recover in June, July, and August, right? So look for us bottoming out mid-May. Look for New Jersey, this is my opinion only. Look for New Jersey, New York, Delaware, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts to start talking about opening the economy back up mid to the end of May. I'm New Jersey, right? Jersey Shore. I know Governor Phil Murphy is going to be getting a lot of pressure to be open by Memorial Day weekend. So, for me, that's too long, right? But what am I going to do about it, right? For us real estate brokers, real estate agents, right? We're mid-April now, directly in the middle of the month, right? Another month and a half, ouch. Yeah, we're going to be black and blue on this. But at least we'll know that we know there's light at the end of the tunnel. And hey, if the picture continues to improve like it has recently, maybe they start to open it up sooner, right? Maybe this coalition of governors says, you know what? It's not as dire as we thought it would be, right? Jim Cramer, right? The crazy guy, on I don't know what channel he's on with his economic, crazy thing. He's even become more optimistic recently because the worst case scenario is off the table, right? Yep. Unfortunately, more people are still going to die, but not as many as was originally anticipated. Yes, we have to continue to practice social distancing. We have to continue to wear our masks out in public, right? We have to continue to do things to keep ourselves and our friends and neighbors safe. And we will continue to have to do those things after we recover. This is not something that we're just going to go back to, life like this never existed. This is going to change our behavior for the foreseeable future. But coming back to the economic question here, right? Needs trump circumstances, right? The three basic necessities of life: food, clothing, and shelter. Okay, and right now you can throw in toilet paper. Food, clothing, shelter, and toilet paper, the four basic necessities of life, right? Sooner or later, right, needs trump circumstances. If you run out of food, what good is toilet paper? Right? So these governors are weighing needs versus circumstances each and every day. They are going, as even Governor Murphy has said, he's put a task force together to analyze when they are going to start opening up New Jersey's economy again. Mark my words, okay? Mark my words. New Jersey should be open by Memorial Day, the latest, okay? If we continue to do what we are doing effectively, perhaps we can start opening up earlier, right? May, I think it was March 21st was an executive order. The National Homeland Security put us through the end of April. Obviously, New Jersey is going to go into May. How far into May? My guess, is worst case scenario, Memorial Day weekend. Best case scenario, the middle of May, 30 days from today. But at least we know so that we can plan accordingly, right? And if whatever business you are in, like, for example, I Gail, not my wife Gail, but my hairstylist Gail. Look, I'm a mess. I went to Rite Aid last week looking for clippers so my wife Gail could actually, give me a buzz cut, for crying out loud. And I don't know when, shears became just as important as toilet paper, but the shelves were completely empty of any, Phillips, Norelco, Braun, grooming kits. So, and I understand hair dye for women or hair coloring for women is just as important as toilet paper today too. So, but I digress. So, all right. So Joe, keep in mind that even though VA and FHA, okay, there are a few options available. I got to hit see more for this one, right? Hold on, Joe. Keep in mind that even though FHA and VA haven't changed down payment requires, there are a few options available if your credit score is lower than 680. Okay. So the credit score, okay, again, and this is not a bad thing, okay? The increase of the credit score is not a bad thing. At least the banks are protecting themselves. And again, the misinformation that the press is spreading out there, okay? Mortgage relief is a myth. Let me say that again. Mortgage relief is a myth. It is either deferred or forbeared, okay? And a forbearance is worse than anything, right? Forbearance is a no-no. If you can avoid it at all, avoid it. It's a last option. If we're looking at mid-May, right, that's 2 mortgage payments, okay? 2 mortgage payments. Don't miss them. Make those mortgage payments, because the thing that's going to delay the recovery is going to be the delinquencies, and there will be delinquencies, unfortunately, right? 75% of us live paycheck to paycheck. There are unfortunately going to be people who will not be able to pay their mortgage for 1 month, let alone 2. So that is going to affect the economy, the economic. It's going to. But the banks are hedging for this. They're preparing for it this time around. They've learned their lesson from 2008. And this is not 2008. It will not be 2008. I'll talk about that on next week's live. What's different, why this is not 2008. But going back so that we can just wrap this all up. I know I'm rambling on here, okay? The economy is going to recover. It's going to recover in the third quarter, okay? It will, by all projections of these three financial warehouses, okay, it's going to be fully recovered, well, fully, but it's going to recover by the third quarter, which means it is going to bottom out in the middle of the second quarter, which, for lack of a better time frame, I'm marking as mid-May. So, what can we do to prepare ourselves to reopen and get started for business in mid-May? The one thing that I'm going to tell you right now is don't wait until mid-May. Do not wait until mid-May. The thing that we can't do and shouldn't do is stop doing business, right? We need to keep trade open. We need goods and services to be exchanged. We need the economy to keep going. You know, I see on Facebook these groups that are forming to support local restaurants. You know, this is great stuff. Keep doing that, right? Keep taking care and supporting your local businesses, because the backbone of this country was built on small business, not on big government, right? Unfortunately, and again, I'm not taking political sides on this, but we're getting a little taste of socialism here. How do you like it? Okay? How do you like it? All right? That's all my political input is going to be. So, back to wrapping this up. I can go on forever, and I know you guys are getting tired. No. Okay, so needs trump circumstances. The governors have a lot of needs right now. We are a blue state, okay? We are going to open up at the same time as New York, Connecticut, Delaware, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, okay? That's a big chunk of the national economy right there, right? There is a power play between the federal government and the state governors right now. Make no bones about it, this is what we refer to as checks and balances, okay? The state needs the federal government's assistance, and the federal government needs the states to reopen. There is going to be a lot of bargaining and negotiating going on here. Unfortunately, we are collateral damage in those negotiations. But make no bones about it, the states need income. They need revenue. They need to reopen. So what can we do? Continue to do what we're doing. Work from home. Stay home as much as possible. Support local businesses, right? Order out once a week if you can, right? I hear there's a meat shortage coming up. So go vegan for a week. Do the little things that you can do to keep the exchange of goods and services going on until Governor Murphy decides that we can start to stagger the reopening of the state of New Jersey. Right? Again, the good news is we seem to be getting on the other side of this healthcare crisis. The bad news is it's not going away. The good news is we are going to be able to manage it to the best of our ability. The bad news is some people are still going to die. The good news is eventually they will know how to treat and hopefully have a vaccine for this. Right? The bad news is it's not going to happen tomorrow. But the good news ultimately is life will go on. Okay? We will not only survive, but we will come through this stronger on the other side of this. Right? A recession was inevitable. You know, if you remember correctly, they were calling for this to happen about a year ago anyway. Okay, I don't think the press could be happier. They now have a pandemic and a recession. Okay, but the good news is this is going to be a short-lived recession if we do the things we need to do to get to the other side of this. I would much rather have a 3-month recession, okay, even though it's going to hurt a lot, than like we did in 2008, where we had a 3-year recession here in New Jersey, right? So let's keep things in its proper perspective, right? Let's continue to do what we can each and every day, which is check on our friends and neighbors, take care of our older family members, wash your hands, don't touch your face, wear your masks when out in public, right? Doing these simple things will help expedite, right, the opening of the economy. So again, look for New Jersey to open somewhere between mid-May and Memorial Day in conjunction with New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Delaware. Right? Of course, this is subject to change, but this is my prediction based on the economic models, theories, and articles that I'm reading in depth, in full, not just headlines. Right? If anybody has any questions or any comments, please leave them in the comments below. All right. Next week on We're Here, episode 3, we'll go more in depth as to why this is not 2008. Yes, this is a recession. No, this is not a housing crisis. Yes, this is a recession. No, this is not a housing crisis. That'll be next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 1 p.m. here at Coldwell Banker Flanagan Realty live, okay, on why this is not 2008. In the meantime, all right, look forward to the economy reopening in another month and a half here in New Jersey. Some other states, those red states, will start to open sooner. Look for Texas, Florida, the middle of the country that has less cases of COVID-19 opening up sooner. That's good news. That'll get the economy going, at least in the mid-America, in the middle of our country, so that hopefully when the coast, the left and right coasts, open up their economy, we can respond and recover stronger and quicker. Right? So I hope somewhere in all this rambling you found some kind of useful information. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Leave your comments and questions below. I'll try to answer them as best I can throughout the day. I thank each and every one of you for joining me today and for tuning in. I thank each and every one of you for doing your part in maintaining social distancing and taking care of yourselves and your family and each other, and supporting your local economy, support your local businesses, and the rest of the day to yourselves. Thank you.